Hi class, this is one of our lessons that we've just gone through today or this week. And one thing that we learned is that there's something called the base and height of a triangle, kind of like length and width of a rectangle, right? But base and height are directly linked. So wherever you have the height, it's going to be linked to the base. So one thing that we realized though, there's something special called the perpendicular height. Nothing that special actually. We use height and perpendicular height every day whenever we measure height, but we don't probably use the word perpendicular height. And all it means is that it's the height at 90 degrees, right? So when we have any measurement, like for example our own height, we need to measure it at 90 degrees, because if I was a person, let's show you an example on my whiteboard. If I was this person here, right, let's say this is me, right, my hair, my beard, and I've got myself here. Now if I don't measure myself like this, right, that's my height. But instead, if I measure myself like this at an angle from this point, right, at this angle, then it's going to look like I am a very tall person, right? I am that tall. So if I compare that to my height, actual height, let me see if I can rotate this, resize, rotate somehow. Let's see if this works. Yes, it does. Here we are, right? So can you see that height is coming off my screen, actually is way taller than my actual height, right? So this is my actual height here in red or green, right? That's my height. And this is 3 times nearly, or a bit more than 3 times my height. So if I choose to measure my height at an angle that's not 90 degrees, then I don't actually get my full height. I get something else, which is going to be a lot taller, right? And so with that in mind, sometimes we can't always start from the bottom, right? We can't always start from the right underneath us, because you know, if we close our legs, right, put our feet together and we try to measure our height, you can't start from right under your feet. You can't pull the tape up, right? So sometimes we've got to start from the side, right? We've got to start from the side and then measure ourselves to the top from the base. The base for us is the floor, okay, whatever we're standing on. And so with that in mind, what you need to realize is that for triangles is exactly the same thing. When we have triangles like the ones we've got here, we've got our first triangle here, which is a right angle triangle. And we can see that this right angle triangle, it's pretty nice because it can you can easily get the height for this one. Why is that? Because you can already see that there's a 90-degree symbol there, right? Can you see that, guys? There's a 90-degree symbol here, bottom left hand corner, and that means that we can easily measure the height here, right? This is going to be our height, because the height is always at from the base to the top of the triangle at 90 degrees. So we can see a 90-degree symbol here. It's a straight line going up, and therefore that can be our height because it's at 90 degrees. It's a perpendicular height. That must mean that this is our base, because the base and height are always linked. If you've got a height, it must have been from the base to the top of the triangle, right? Or the highest point in the triangle. So the base, it can definitely be not the bottom, right? I'm going to repeat that. The base can also not be at the bottom. So a lot of people think that the base has to be at the bottom. And in fact, not a lot of books and other places that you learn maths from kind of mention that. The base doesn't have to be at the bottom. For example, I've got these 3 triangles. And I've got these 3 triangles. Any of these sides, any of the 3 sides of the triangle can be the base. If I say that this is my base, right, I'm going to write B for base, capital B for there, then my height is going to be from the base to the top of the triangle at 90 degrees. Now, how can I do that then? I've got the baseline. How do I get to top? The top is at the bottom this time, right? So we don't have to rotate it, but I can rotate it if I want to, right? Let me rotate that again. I can rotate this so that you can get to see that actually it doesn't matter that it's on the side. The base, if I rotate the actual triangle, it becomes something like this, right? And then I can take a straight line from the top. Let's say a green line would be good for us so you can see it. Maybe we can't see it very clearly actually. Let me choose a different color, maybe a red here. So I can choose from the top of the triangle to the bottom of the triangle, the base, at 90 degrees, right? This section here is going to be 90 degrees, and therefore this is my height. That measurement we have, that red line from the top to the bottom, is going to be my height. So let's have a look at the other one. So let me pause for a second so that I can go through the other triangle. Right, so we've done the first one. We've chosen the right hand side as the base. The next one could be the bottom. The bottom's easy, right? If that's the base, then we know that's the top. We know the top to the base, top of the triangle to the base at 90 degrees will be the height. This line now will be my H for height. Okay, does that make sense? And it can even be this side here, right? If it's this side, then this is my base. We're calling that the base. It's going to be from the base to the other end, which is the top end of the triangle, which obviously at the bottom end here at the moment. But if you can rotate it, you understand that the base to the top of the triangle, this must be the top here. This must be my height. Why? Because it has to be also at 90 degrees. Okay, if it's not at 90 degrees, it can't be your perpendicular height. So new terminology, perpendicular height. It just means the height from a point from the base at 90 degrees, right? The line, that's the height. It has to be at 90 degrees from the base. And that's called a perpendicular height. The only two problems, or not problems actually, there's one that's not too bad here. This one is not too bad. We can call any of those sides the base, right? If this is the base, then we know it's easy, that's the top. So we've got it easy here. We've got this as the height because that's 90 degrees. Okay, that's an easy one, right? But if we have a different base, for example, let's choose this question here, actually, this triangle. If we call that the base, this is where we've got to think about what I mentioned earlier, right? So let's go back to that page where I've got myself here, right? I can't always measure from the bottom because I can't go through my body, right? It has to be sometimes from the side. Not from the side at an angle like this, but actually from the side at 90 degrees to the top, right? We're going to have to do exactly the same thing for our triangle on the right. Okay, it's a slightly unusual one that you might not see as often, right? However, this type of triangle, trying to work out the area of this type of triangle in the future, you're going to need to know what the base is and what the height is, right? If we don't know the base and height for these types of triangles, then we're going to struggle to work out the area. So here we've got the base. Now I can start from the base and I can try to work out the height. So if this is the base, I can go to the top of the triangle, which is here. That red line is going to be my height. Sometimes we might do it from here though, from the top of the triangle, go down to the base line, right? So I'm going to extend this base and just make it a bit longer so that you can see that we're hitting the 90 degree here. This is 90 degrees. And so from the baseline to the top, that's going to be my height if that line is at 90 degrees. Okay, so as you can see, it is. So this up to here is the base. The base is not here. That's not the base. Remember, this part is not part of the triangle, right? This is not part of the triangle. So the part that is part of the triangle, I'm going to do in blue now, this is the base. That's the baseline. That's the measurement that we need for the base. The height is from the top of the triangle to the bottom of the triangle at 90 degrees. And you can see a 90 degree symbol there. So some of us struggled with this type of question in my groups, and hence this video. So hopefully you can understand how to work out the base and the height. Any length, any side of the triangle can be the base, but the height is very specific. has to be from the base to the top of the triangle or the other end of the triangle at 90 degrees. So remember that, guys, and that will help you with your area questions that we're going to look at next video.